Welcome back to the channel. I hope you didn't think I forgot. Look, I didn't. There was just so much stuff happening in our own personal life. But hey, we're back on it. Listen, today, if you guys are new, it's a segment that we do pretty frequently around here. Okay, today is a pension alert. We're going to be looking at none other than San Diego Police Department and what's going on with their pension. Interesting article, pretty recent. And I just want you guys to take away the whole purpose of this segment every time isn't to rag on cities, isn't to rag on police departments. It's simply to open your guys' eyes to the reality that pensions aren't safe. You do not want to solely rely on a pension, on the government to provide for your retirement. I promise you, you will live to regret it. All right, so let's just take a look at today. Pension alert, San Diego Police Department. Let's get into it. All right, so title of today's article that I came across: San Diego's pension payments spiking $50 million amid worsening budget crisis during the pandemic. I tell you like this, COVID-19 has been hard on a lot of people all across the world, in fact, but it is really starting to expose the weaknesses in pension systems across the nation. So let's get into it. So it says, San Diego's annual pension payment will rise by nearly $50 million this June 2021, making it much harder for the tourism-reliant city to balance its budget while tax revenues continue their sharp slide down due to COVID-19 pandemic. The city's pension board is requiring a $49.3 million spike in annual pension payment from $365.6 million a year to $414.9 million a year because estimates of long-term pension debt rose this year from just over $3 billion to $3.34 billion. The debt increase is linked to a new study, probably by the actuary, showing more city workers will live into their 80s and 90s. Also, pension system investments underperformed this year, and the average pay for city workers went up by more than double the expected rate. So let's just kind of break down what's going on here. So obviously, right, they've identified that there is going to be almost a $50 million shortage in their pension system because of everything that's going on. And see, one of the things they cited, and it ties back in, like, I don't just be talking for my health, y'all. They cited one of the issues is that people are starting to live longer and longer. And what I tell you all the time, they don't want you to. They really, really, really don't want you to live to cash in on your retirement. They don't. You know why they don't? Because it makes it way easier if everyone's just dying off like they want. Then they don't have to worry about coming up with actual solutions to the pension fund. Another reason for you cops out there that might be on the department who are struggling every time contracts come up to get those raises that you feel that you're entitled to, right? Well, they just bitch about that up here, right? Another issue that they're citing is because people have gotten raises. And so what happens is the stocks are only going to perform so much. There's only so many vehicles that you can put money into. And last year, a lot of those traditional places where money goes, those blue collar, those blue chip stocks, as they say, did not perform well. And unless those pension fund managers were on it, all right, and they were, boom, actively managing and not just raking in a check off of their percentage that they get from managing the fund, then a lot of pension funds got slapped across the dome last year. Slapped across the dome. And so instead of citing, less than stellar investments, less than stellar management of the investment fund, they're citing the fact that employees are living longer and they're getting raises. Now, I guarantee you, if not this year, then the upcoming years when contracts starting to come, I promise you this is going to be used as a reason to increase premiums, right? Decrease the city's obligation to maybe healthcare. Give officers and first responders and just city employees in general, give them lower raises because we mismanaged the pension. But now it's your fault. And so we can't give you the raise that you actually deserve. This is what happens. All right, so let's get back to the article. So it goes on to say San Diego's pension debt has nearly tripled from about 1.2 billion in 2007 because of similar negative impacts to the system, particularly the stock market crash during the Great Recession that began in 2008. This year's increase in debt and the city's annual pension payment would have been much sharper if stocks had not rebounded last spring from the initial dip they took just after the pandemic began. Stock downturns spiked the city's pension debt because a crucial part of the city's long-term payoff plan assumes that there's going to be significant growth in the value of investments the city has made in its pension fund. The greater the return on those investments, the less taxpayer money the city needs to spend long-term to cover pension payments to retired employees. The city's actuary, again, remember the actuary is the person who's in charge of reviewing the pension system and making sure that, there aren't any deficits, or if there are, there's going to be a way to address them long-term. So the city's actuary, Gene Kolarowski, probably mispronounced that, don't fight me, now estimates that the city will need $11.2 billion to pay the pensions it will owe workers long term. He estimates the long-term value of the assets set aside to make those payments is $7.9 billion, leaving a gap of $3.3 billion. Another reason the annual pension payment is spiking is pension board policies adopted in recent years force the city to pay off the pension system losses more quickly. Now, addressing these two things. Look, I'm not on a pension fund, but everything that I've learned from reading up about these, and these are different departments all across the United States. These are one of the most unsustainable things in our profession. Now, is it a sweet deal? Heck yeah, it's a sweet deal, but people kind of mess it up. People like to double and triple dip and cash out and stay longer than they need to get hired. Like, look, man, people are greedy. I get it. But what it does is it kind of messes it up, not only for them long term, but for future generations. Right? There's no reason why, newer cops coming in should get a worse deal than the older cops for doing, honestly, the same job. And honestly, if you want to keep it 100%, doing the same job in harder times. And now they get a crappier retirement for a crappier pension. Right? But these are all these things play in together. Long term. It's what you want to think about. Like when you first retire, you're gonna be, you should be doing pretty good. But you got to think about long term. What about in 30 years? When you can't throw on a duty belt anymore. When your knees go bad, your back's gone bad. Is the pension system still going to be around? Because you know what they're going to do. If the pension system that you are relying on solely for your retirement goes under and you're like in your 80s, they're probably just going to send you maybe a little cash out check that isn't going to be worth a fraction of what they actually should be paying you. And it's going to be a little sorry note. Our bad. We messed up. Sorry. Oops. Figure it out. Hopefully Social Security will be enough for you. It won't. Just keep that in mind. Alternative investments. Let's wrap this up. All right, so wrapping up, kind of skipping through to the bottom of the article, and one of the things they're saying, forcing the city to pay off its pension debt earlier is actually a good thing in the long term for keeping the sustainability of the pension kind of in check, right? It's not letting that debt snowball. But short term, it can cause a lot of problems and force them to pass a lot of policies increase in retirement contributions, things like that, decreases in salary raises. These are the things that have to happen. Increase in taxes for the citizens. These are things that have to happen to address those situations, just so the pension can last a little bit longer. But at the end of the article, this is interesting what they say. It says the pension system also may soon have to cope with thousands of new members. City employees hired after the 2012 Proposition B ballot measure that eliminated pensions for all new hires except police officers. The state Supreme Court ruled in 2018 that the city skipped key legal steps when placing the measure on the ballot. And a Superior Court judge ruled this month that the measure's pensions cuts must be removed from the city charter. If that ruling isn't appealed, city and labor union officials will begin negotiating a solution that may include awarding pensions to some of those workers who instead received 401k style retirement plans. What does that mean? So they passed some type of bill back in 2012 to basically take away pensions from all other city workers except for police officers in an attempt to save the pension system. However, now it made it through California Supreme Court. Yep, state Supreme Court. Made it through California Supreme Court, and they determined that, hey, that's pretty jacked up. You can't do that. These people need to have their pensions. So now there might be a whole influx of, I'm assuming, thousands of employees who are now going to be yanking on that system. They're going to be yanking on that system, expecting their pension payouts. Again, that's a lot of volatility. There's a lot of unknown going forward. And even though San Diego Police Department, even though they have a better plan than I've seen, you can already start to see the issues that are coming. And listen, when you're retired, I don't think you want that type of stress, right? So you always want to have your eggs spread across multiple baskets. Invest in your 457B, invest in your Roth IRAs, okay? Start a little business and then do a little SEP IRA, okay? Do a little small business 401k. It's about how much you can save, all right? Not how much you can spend, all right? Hey, look, that's it for today. I hope you guys got something out of it. I'm going to leave the link to the article down below. You can read it for yourself. All right, this is stuff that's just actually happening. You can't make it up. Remember, don't just rely on your pension. And before you rush out of here, I know you might have already clicked off the video, but if you're still here and you like the video, all right, then please like the video. Leave a comment, share, subscribe, click the notification bell. It helps the channel out tremendously. All right, I'm going to keep pumping out content for you guys. We got so much more stuff coming down the pipe. All right, it's Xavier, CRC. As always, stay blessed. I will see you guys in the next one.